glow of the dual monitors cast a cool, almost sterile light across Ethan's face, illuminating the subtle tension around his eyes. It was past midnight, a typical Tuesday, or maybe Wednesday. The days blurred when you were a software engineer, especially when you were on the cusp of something big. Outside his window, the Chicago suburbs slept, a quiet blanket of domesticity covering sprawling lawns and two-car garages. Inside, the hum of his high-powered PC was the only sound, a mechanical heartbeat in the hushed house. Beside him, Sarah stirred, a soft sigh escaping her lips. Her hair, a cascade of sun-kissed blonde, fanned out on the pillow, catching the monitor's light in golden streaks. A smile, slow and content, touched Ethan's lips as he watched her. Sarah. His Sarah. They had met in 2018, a whirlwind of shared Spotify playlists, late-night coffee runs, and an undeniable spark that had quickly ignited into a comfortable, deeply rooted love. Their social media was a carefully curated mosaic of their life. Sun-drenched selfies from weekend getaways to Door County, cozy evenings by the fireplace, the playful banter of their text message exchanges immortalized in screenshots. They were the couple everyone envied, the epitome of modern romance, building a life together in a charming bungalow just outside the city's sprawl. Everything, truly everything, was perfect. Tonight, however, perfection was about to get a glitch. Ethan leaned back in his ergonomic chair, cracking his knuckles. He was putting the finishing touches on his latest project, an advanced AI-powered facial recognition system. Not for some nefarious government agency, mind you. This was personal. A side hustle, a passion project, born from his fascination with deep learning and his desire to build something truly innovative. He envisioned it as a tool for security, for identification, perhaps even for helping find missing persons. For now, though, it was just for testing. Rigorous, exhaustive testing. He needed more data, real-world data. He'd exhausted the public datasets, the stock photos, the endless stream of celebrity faces. He needed something authentic, something personal, to truly push the boundaries of his algorithms. His gaze drifted to his phone, lying face down on the desk. A thought, innocent at first, sparked in his mind. Sarah. He had thousands of photos of her, from every angle, in every lighting condition. Perfect. And she wouldn't mind. She encouraged his work, his late nights, his relentless pursuit of code. He picked up his phone, scrolling through his gallery. There were so many. A candid shot of her laughing on their first trip to California, her eyes crinkling at the corners. A blurry photo from a concert, her arm slung around his shoulder. Then he saw it. An old selfie from before they met. She'd sent it to him early in their relationship, a playful throwback from 2016, a glimpse into her life before he was in it. She was standing in front of a vibrant street art mural, her smile wide and carefree, her eyes sparkling with youthful energy. It was a beautiful shot, full of life, perfect. He selected the image and with a few clicks, uploaded it into the AI's processing queue. The system whirred to life, its internal mechanisms churning through lines of code, cross-referencing, analyzing, comparing. A progress bar, a familiar green line, crawled across the screen. Ethan took a sip of his lukewarm coffee, a sense of quiet satisfaction settling over him. He was a creator, a builder. This was his world. The green bar reached 100%. The system chirped, a small, triumphant sound. Ethan leaned forward, ready to review the results, to tweak parameters, to marvel at his creation's accuracy. He expected to see a match with her current driver's license photo he'd used for initial training, perhaps a few public social media profiles. Standard stuff. But what flashed on the screen next wasn't standard. It wasn't expected. It wasn't even remotely possible. A chill, colder than the deepest Chicago winter, snaked its way down Ethan's spine. His eyes wide with disbelief. stared at the data spitting across his monitor. The system returned a match, an exact match. The facial geometry, the unique markers, the subtle nuances of bone structure, all aligned with chilling precision. But the name, the associated data, it wasn't Sarah. It was a cold, hard, unassailable fact, delivered by lines of code he himself had written. The system's confidence score was 99%, irrefutable. The person in the selfie, his beloved Sarah, was listed as deceased, and not just deceased. The date of death, prominently displayed, was October 14, 2016, before they had even met. His breath caught in his throat. This had to be a mistake, a colossal, catastrophic error. He reran the scan. The same result. He cross-referenced the internal database with external public records his AI had scraped. The details solidified, hardening into an unbearable truth. The name attached to the deceased record was Maria Rodriguez, age 22. Cause of death, unresolved homicide. A victim of a cold case. The air in the room, moments ago comfortable and still, now felt impossibly heavy, suffocating. The hum of his computer, once a comforting sound, became a menacing drone. He looked from the screen, where the stark, horrifying data stared back at him, to Sarah, sleeping peacefully beside him. Her chest rose and fell in a steady rhythm, a testament to her very much alive existence. His mind reeled, grasping for an explanation. Any explanation. A shared ancestor? A doppelganger of impossible likeness? A bizarre, cosmic coincidence? But his AI was built for precision, for eliminating ambiguity. It didn't make these kinds of mistakes, not on this scale. He tried to wake her, his hand reaching out, trembling. He had to show her. She would explain. She would laugh, perhaps, at the absurdity of it all. But his hand froze inches from her shoulder. What if she couldn't explain? What if there was something more, something darker, lurking beneath the surface of their perfect life? He pulled his hand back, his heart hammering against his ribs. He had to know more. He delved deeper into the records, his fingers flying across the keyboard, driven by a frantic need for answers. Every search, every data point, every cross-reference only solidified the impossible truth. Maria Rodriguez. Deceased 2016, unresolved homicide, and the face was undeniably Sarah's. A new kind of fear, cold and sharp, began to prick at him. He thought of all the things he didn't know about Sarah, the small gaps in her story that he had casually dismissed as unimportant. Her lack of family in the area, her vague answers about her past before 2018. The way she always changed the subject when he pressed for details about her childhood. He had attributed it to a desire for privacy, a natural reticence. Now it felt like deliberate concealment. He looked at the peaceful rise and fall of her chest again, but this time he saw not serenity, but an unsettling enigma. Who was the woman sleeping next to him? And how could she be alive and well when the digital world declared her dead? A victim of a crime that had never been solved. The silence of the room was broken only by the relentless hum of the computer and the ragged sound of Ethan's own breathing. He felt a profound sense of disorientation, as if the ground beneath him had suddenly shifted. The life he knew, the love he cherished, the very fabric of his reality, seemed to unravel before his eyes, reduced to a string of terrifying code and a single, unanswerable question. Who was Sarah? Part 2. The shadow that fell on perfection. Ethan's fingers trembled as he reran the scan again and again, as if hoping that with each new cycle, the AI would finally spit out different information, something more comforting, more plausible. But no, the results were relentless. Maria Rodriguez, October 2016, unresolved homicide. And her face, absolutely identical to Sarah's in that photo. He glanced at Sarah, still asleep. How could she sleep so peacefully while his world shattered? Was she involved? Or was she Maria Rodriguez, somehow faking her death to start a new life? The thought was insane, but no more insane than what his AI had just told him. The monitor light reflected in his dilated pupils. He needed more information. He frantically searched the internet, typing Maria Rodriguez 2016 Chicago into the search bar. Results poured in. Old news articles, true crime blogs, forums where people discussed unsolved cases. He found a few grainy, blurry police photos from the crime scene, but recognizable. The face. The same face. One article dated October 15, 2016, caught his eye. Young woman found dead in abandoned warehouse on Chicago's South Side. It stated that Maria Rodriguez, 22, a student at a local college, was discovered with multiple stab wounds. Police had arrived after an anonymous tip. The killer was never found. The case went cold within months. Ethan scrolled down. There were a few comments left by people who knew Maria. She was so sweet, always smiling. Who could do such a thing? I hope they find who did this. He felt like an observer to someone else's tragedy, which had suddenly become his own reality. He shifted his focus to Sarah. Her life before 2018 had always been vague. She told stories about traveling, odd jobs, trying to find herself. He'd always considered it part of her charm, her free spirit. Now, it felt like a meticulously crafted cover story. He had to check. He needed official documents, driver's license, passport, birth certificate, all the things any person in modern society would carry. He carefully got up from his chair, trying not to wake her. His legs felt like jelly, and his heart pounded so loudly he thought she must hear it. He tiptoed into their shared bedroom. Her purse lay on the chair, where she always left it. With trembling hands, he opened it. Inside were the usual things: lipstick, wallet, keys. He opened the wallet. 2 credit cards, both in the name of Sarah James. No driver's license. That was odd. Sarah always drove his car when they went somewhere. He'd never seen her license, but hadn't thought anything of it. He began rummaging deeper into the bag, his movements growing more frantic. He looked for anything that might shed light on her past, but nothing. No old IDs, no student cards, no receipts from previous addresses. It was as if Sarah James had materialized out of thin air in 2018. Despair began to consume him. He moved to her nightstand, then to her dresser drawers. He felt disgusted, rummaging through her personal belongings, but the need to know the truth outweighed all other feelings. All he found were things belonging to the current Sarah: clothes, jewelry, books they had read together. Finally, he stumbled upon a small mahogany box hidden beneath her lingerie in the bottom drawer. It was locked. This wasn't a surprise. Everyone had their secrets. But now, this box felt ominous. What did she keep in there? He tried to open it, but the lock was sturdy. He didn't have time to look for a key. He went back to his study, grabbed a screwdriver, and holding his breath, returned to the bedroom. With a sharp twist, he pried the lock open. The latch snapped with a quiet crack that, in the night's silence, sounded deafening. Inside were only a few items. A couple of old, faded photographs. He picked them up. One showed a young woman, very similar to Sarah, hugging an older woman. The inscription on the back was in Spanish: "Con amor, Abuela Elena." With love, Grandma Elena. Rodriguez, a Hispanic surname. Another coincidence? The other photos were group shots, perhaps from college. He recognized Sarah's face, but she was younger, her smile more naive, her hair darker. In one photo, she stood next to a tall, thin guy with piercing blue eyes. There was undeniable chemistry between them. There were no inscriptions on the back. Besides the photos, there was an old, folded piece of paper in the box. He unfolded it. It was a college graduation certificate. It read, Maria Rodriguez. Graduated with honors from college name he didn't recognize. In May 2016, all the pieces of the puzzle began to fit into a horrifying picture. Sarah was Maria Rodriguez. She had been killed in 2016, but she was here, alive, sleeping next to him. How was this possible? His mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation. Maybe it was identity theft. But why? And how? If Maria was killed, then who died? And why would someone fake her death? He had to talk to her, right now. He couldn't wait any longer. He slowly approached the bed, his heart pounding like crazy.
Sarah,
He whispered, his voice dry with fear. She stirred, blinking sleepily.
What's wrong, Ethan? Are you okay?
Her voice was as soft and familiar as ever. But now it held other notes. Notes of deception. Notes of a secret that was tearing him apart.
I need to show you something.
He said, his gaze falling on the monitor in his study, where the information about Maria Rodriguez's death still glowed. She sat up, rubbing her eyes.
What is it, honey? It's almost 3 in the morning.
He walked over to the computer and turned the screen so she could see. He pointed to the line. Maria Rodriguez, deceased October 14th, 2016. Unresolved homicide.
I ran your old selfie through my AI.
He began, his voice trembling.
The system, it showed this. I don't understand, Sarah. Explain it to me.
Sarah's face changed. The sleepy haze instantly vanished, replaced by an expression he had never seen. Shock, fear, and something else. Anger. Her eyes widened as she looked from the screen to his face. The air in the room became thick, electric.
What is that?
Her voice was low, almost a hiss.
Your photo, Sarah.
He said, trying to stay calm, though his insides were churning.
The name, Maria Rodriguez. And the date of death. What's going on?
She said nothing, her gaze darting between the screen and his eyes. Then, completely unexpectedly, she sprang out of bed.
You went through my things?
Her voice held a fury he'd never heard.
You went through my purse? You broke into my box?
I was trying to understand.
Ethan desperately cried.
Who is Maria Rodriguez, Sarah? Why does my AI say you're dead?
She recoiled from him, her eyes blazing. It was as if a completely different woman stood before him. A woman he didn't know at all.
You shouldn't have done this.
She whispered, and in her voice was not only anger, but a deep, piercing pain.
You shouldn't have looked. You shouldn't have dug.
But why?
Ethan's voice cracked.
I love you, Sarah. I just want the truth. Are you Maria Rodriguez?
She flinched, as if slapped. Her gaze became vacant, detached. Then she bolted for the door.
Sarah, where are you going?
He shouted, trying to stop her. But she was already in the hallway, quickly getting dressed. He rushed after her.
You can't just leave.
He grabbed her arm.
We need to talk about this.
She wrenched her arm free, her eyes full of despair and determination. She snatched her phone from the table, looked at it for a second, and then, to his horror, forcefully slammed it to the floor. The screen shattered into 1,000 shards. The phone locked forever, turning into a useless piece of plastic and metal.
You ruined everything.
Her words were uttered through clenched teeth, each word imbued with icy coldness. You ruined everything. Then she turned and rushed out the front door. Ethan, stunned and utterly bewildered, stood watching her disappear into the night. Her footsteps quickly faded into the quiet of the suburb. He was left alone in the cold, now completely empty house. In his hands was Maria Rodriguez's graduation certificate. On the floor lay Sarah's shattered phone, and his own AI facial detection system silently waited on the monitor, its light reflecting off the empty room like a mute witness to the catastrophe. Ethan sank to his knees, his head spinning. What the hell had just happened? Who was the woman he'd spent the last 7 years of his life with? And where had she gone? He picked up the shattered phone from the floor. The black screen stared back at him like an empty promise. 3 words. You ruined everything.